Welcome back. What's up? I wanted to I'll get right into it. What's up, my fellow YouTube parasites and my awesome Playboy peeps and horror peeps and the mom and dads that maybe like to tune into my page. So I'm doing another season of Thinking is Ghetto because at this point I don't know if it is ghetto to think too much or if it's not. But regardless, we're here now. And this episode is going to be about the Super El Nino and how it is going to be affecting parts of California that might increase the mudslides situation over there. It's not going to be good, and I'm going to tell you why. And it says about 70 to 90% chance of this kind of situation or situations to be happening in California to multiple cities. And from my research here, this is pretty much a go to recording, and just for some helpful tips along with my crazy side notes about it. But before I get into this, I just wanted to say the last week, my goodness, people have been driving me wild and not in a good way. Like sometimes I don't even want to bore you with small details, but maybe for my next coming episode, I think the Playboy fans will like my Thinking is Ghetto episode for my next one. I'm telling you now. I think it's pretty interesting. More of like this what the fuck crazy conspiracy theory, but it's kind of like adding all these interesting, I want to say, opinions and facts and kind of putting them all together with my rant and raves here. So don't mind me if I venture off to about, I want to say, 5 different subjects in here, and I'll try to keep it light and easy and smooth, just like peanut butter. Not fucking crunchy. Yeah, well, let's just be honest. I eat crunchy once in a while. Anyway, I'll get to the seriousness here. I'll save my dick jokes for maybe the end of the episode. So, all right, welcome back, moms and dads and curlies of the world. How are you doing? Okay, so I'll get right into this with you guys. So the Super El Nino, I think personally, in my opinion, is just a kinder way of saying an ice age, but that's just an opinion of mine. So I want to talk about the mudslides in California and how the rainstorms could hurt them in certain parts of California, to be specific. But yes, rainstorms can really impact and significantly, I want to say, worsen and trigger more so destructive mudslides for California during this Super El Nino. I don't think, rather than it becoming a bad thing or stopping them, it's going to be, I want to say, pretty intense. And the rivers with the soil will make the hillsides a little bit more, I want to say, unstable and increasing the landslides and the debris flows, I want to say, underneath. And they would be called flash floods, I guess. But I'm going to explain how a super El Nino rainstorms could affect these mudslides, which I do think California is getting and, well, has been getting for quite some time, and leaving you pretty vulnerable in this situation. And some of these situations come out of nowhere as usual, so I'll get into it. How a super El Nino rainstorms from this could potentially impact these mudslides that you guys have over there. So heavy rain drenching the ground leaves the earth with zero room to absorb water, forcing topsoil to break free and slide down hills. And the burn scar vulnerability. Powerful storms moving overseas recently stripped of vegetation by wildfires create rapid, catastrophic debris flows and mudslides. So the historical backbone, I guess, of this is past historic El Nino events such as the 1997 to 1998 system brought immense deluges that triggered widespread mudslides, causing major property damage and basically just chaos around the cities that it happened. 100%. So recommendations for you guys, if anything, in the future may be to perhaps in the wintertime of 2027, maybe perhaps just to be a little more prepared in between, I want to say January and March. Yeah, around January, March of 2027 should be. I would keep your eyes peeled and be a little more cautious and keep up to date with certain things, and I will give you some resourceful tools in helping you do so. So, recommendations I would recommend is pack go bags. Assembly emergency supplies like your medications, documents ahead of storm arrival. So just in case things, go, basically if shit hits the fan and you tap out, then, whoever finds you will, know what's up instantly and can kind of convey to the message to your other family members, sadly. But you really need to go on some of these sites here, identify your evacuation zones, and look at your local county maps to determine specific zone and plan reliable escape routes, which you should know in your own local area if you're familiar with them. And if you aren't, then you probably should get to be. So, another recommendation here is to clean or clear drainage systems. Clear out leaves, dirt, and blockages from gutters and storm drains from around your home. So always kind of keep up to date with that, more so prior to January of 2027, or maybe even December of this year. Just kind of constantly keep up with it. I don't think it would hurt. I think the dads out there are already like, well, an excuse, right? But in all honesty, yeah, you really should clear all the dirt and all the bullshit. And you dads out there are going to be doing it anyway. So I'm going to also explain how the Super El Nino is affecting California in the wintertime and what cities it will impact the most. To be honest, from my research, I would like to think is pretty good. And this is where I will be explaining some of the tools and timeline, I suppose. So it would be more intensifying coming up. The Super El Nino is projected to heavily impact California during the 2026 to 2027 winter season, peaking between December 2026 and January 2027. So it also says, from what I'm reading here, because I'm going to keep it straight with you, this is going to be my Kevin coming up. And it's going to be kind of funny for you guys to hear me go from, Pember to Kevin. Alright, so here we go. Driven by record-breaking Pacific Ocean warming, leading climate models show a 70 to 90% chance of well above normal perception across the state. This rapid intensifies shifts the jet stream south, creating an active storm track that will slam California with constructive atmosphere rivers, triggering unprecedented coastal flooding, historic storm surges, flash floods, and landslides. Simultaneously, ocean expansion combined with seasonal king tides is expected to cause the highest sea levels ever recorded along the west coast. Alright, so I also seen this thing also that some of the highways and the houses on hills are going to be very much at risk the most, because I would like to think they are at the top at being number one most vulnerable, because you already have a house on a hill. And kind of go through the cities now. And I'll just shut the fuck up. I feel so nervous, like I'm on my blind date with you guys. Like, So I'll try to tone it down. All right. All right, let's get to it. So the cities and regions impacted the most. So let's get to it. Los Angeles and Long Beach, Southern California faces the highest tilt toward extreme downpours. Coastal lowlands and alleyways are highly susceptible to severe urban flash flooding and surging tides. The next third one that's going to be more prone and acceptable would be San Diego. Neighborhoods like Grantville are facing severe localized flood risk during the stretched drainage infrastructure. Coastal landmarks face structural damage from these quote-unquote monster waves colliding with elevated sea levels. Then the next would be San Francisco, 1, 2, 3, and then the fourth one would be San Francisco and the Bay. Strong models predict San Francisco could receive over 20 inches of rain this winter. Surging ocean waters are projected to push deep into the San Francisco Bay and the San Joaquin River Delta. And then the fifth would be Sierra Nevada foothill communities. Mountain towns will face severe risks of danger, rain on snow events, while mountain resorts prepare for a bullseye of heavy, high altitude snowfalls. Because you know what that is? On a side note, before I finish this, it is, I would like to think, in my opinion, not normal for. Oh, pardon me, I got distracted there. I would like to think it's not normal for winter to be happening in such hot places. So it kind of seems like this super El Nino. On a side note, in my opinion, anytime now looking back at some of these hot landscapes over the years, now thinking about it, like Las Vegas getting wintertime a couple years ago, snow and all these, I'm starting to think maybe that's when maybe the super El Nino happened. And the media, I don't know, in my opinion, maybe said, hey, we're going to get caught. We might as well tell people it's a super El Nino, which it very well is. And then hear me out, with the super El Nino combined and compact with all the global warming, it's just not a good combination. Not a good mesh, my friends. It's just common sense. Like my dad says, nothing common about common sense, which, by the way, I wish he would, preach what he sows, you know what I'm saying? Anyways, back to my crazy rant here. It's not a crazy rant, actually. So, alright, so I just listed off some of them, and then the last one here, the wildfire burn scars. Mountain and canyon communities in Ventura, Santa Barbara, and Northern California counties are under extreme threat of catastrophic mudslides and debris flows due to destabilized soil, which I'm assuming this, maybe if you guys get the destabilized soil and, stabilize it out, maybe you could prevent this, but I don't know, how human beings are, like, we don't want to use our common sense, let's try to fix it after it's too late. Aren't I a fucking little prick? Anyways, survival tools and resources. Alright, let's get to these guys for you fucking ungrateful humans. But I love you guys. I love you long time. Super El Nino. Hola. Let's do this. Bonjour, everybody. Let's do this. Okay. Survival tools and resources. Cal OES Emergency Portal. It basically says here, access real-time alerts and state updates through the California Office of Emergency Services to track active hazard maps and storms responsible for these type of operations. So I'm going to read that once more for you, my Playboy homies and whoever. Cal OES Emergency Portal. Cal OES Emergency Portal. Just go and Google that, and then I guess do what you got to do from there. And then the next helpful tool I would like to think would be My Hazards tool. So go see that one. And then the third suggestion would be National Weather Service, NWS. And then the next one would be FEMA, Flood Map Service. So instead of me explaining what each one of these tools are, you should just, take a peek and gander on it in your spare time. Or maybe go look it up while you're listening to this right now. So if listening to this and going Googling it is too much while you're on the toilet, well, do it another time. So these mudslides, I want to get to when they will happen, what mudslides will happen, and where will they affect the most, you're wondering. So during the 2026 to 2027, the Super El Nino, California will face two distinct types of mudslides: rapid, violent debris flows on wildfire burn scars, and slow-moving, deep-seated hillside collapses on coastal cliffs, which I mentioned earlier. So the areas affected that will be most affected by this will be the downhill communities directly below mountain burn scars, coastal bluffs in southern California, and major transit corridors, like specific coast highway (PCH) and state route. So let's get to the next type of interesting information for you guys that I think is kind of scary, but take it for what you will. The mudslides that are could be occurring, in my opinion, would be the fast-moving debris flows, the burn scars mentioned earlier, when they have heavy river rain hits recently from basically wildfires and then the burn zones and just all sorts of rainstorms that are a little more unusual and more persistent maybe throughout the week. The water repellent soils, I want to say they act like as a pavement, so do what you will with that one. Water rapidly pools, creating a hyper fast slurry of mud, boulders, and trees that move like freight trains down canyons with zero warning. So that's not good. So I guess if you're on kind of a coastal or hill, fast moving debris flows, and if you're at the bottom of it, you'd really would have to consider. I don't know. I'll just keep it long and short with that one. If you have a house at the bottom of the hill, I would just sell it now and get the fuck out. So, all right. Deep seated landslides and cliff failures. So, that's really catastrophic if you ask me. Continuous winter rainfall over several weeks, deep underground clay layers. This extra weight causes enter in the hillsides and coastal bluffs to give away, threatening cliff top of luxury homes and coastal infrastructures. So I want to say Malibu is also very much at high risk with some of this as well. Pardon me, my smoker's cough. I do apologize. I notice when I stay up late. Anyway, smoker's cough. So we moved to LA. Anyway. The regions and high-risk spots that are going to be mostly affected from this are the southern California canyons and foothills. So Ventura, Santa Barbara, and Los Angeles counties face the highest threat. Areas below burn zones are highly susceptible to sudden street blocks and structural damage. So San Diego, North County bluffs, the Big Sur coastline, which would be State Route 1 from what I'm seeing here, along the mountains of Monterey and San Luis. I don't know what the hell that says, counties, but yeah, go Google it while you're here. And the SF Bay Area foothills in the Marin County and East Bay face an increased risk of retaining wall failures and localized mud flows pushing into the residential streets. So that's a very scary one. That kind of sounds like it might be all over here. And if you want to basically understand a little bit more about that for that area and kind of get more so behind some of the science of how some of the soil on wildfire, the aka burn scars, can cause these dangerous mudslides, I found a very insightful video that's only about over a minute. Just go onto YouTube here and type in Burn Scar Flooding Explained, which is by CBS Colorado. Again, that's Burn Scar Flooding Explained by CBS Colorado. Don't I sound like I'm working at a fucking phone company? Anyways, signs of a mudslide about to, roll on up in your little community. So let me explain. You'll see new cracks opening in plaster, tile, brick, or ground surfaces around your home. Leaning structures like telephone poles, trees, retaining walls, or fences tilting suddenly, which is something I would like to think is more major to the eye to look out for, is the fences tilting. And rushing sounds, faint rumbling sounds that increase in volume, or the sounds of breaking trees, would be another one to slowly look out for if it's persistently happening. Faint rumbling sounds that increase in volume throughout the day. And water alterations, let's talk about that. you'll see maybe sudden changes in creek water clarity, shifting from clear to thick brown mud, which could probably be septic and all sorts of chemicals into one. So I would like to think the water will be in those areas no longer drinkable. So stack up on some of our cheap Canadian waters, my American homies. All right, so let's talk about the places that it'll affect, and could the mudslides weaken the fault lines potentially? So would it? I will talk about it. And could I want to say, not more so trigger the mudslides, but the rainstorms, pardon me. I think it could alter the pressures for the earthquakes, and that would be actually a better context of putting it for you guys. So, rainstorms can theoretically alter underground pressure to trigger micro earthquakes, but they do not cause large damage during earthquakes. But considering if there's mudslides and if there's a possibility of even a minor earthquake, that just does not sound like a good combination together. Which I haven't done the research of those combinations together, so maybe a rabbit hole for you to go down. And if you're anyone like me, and if you like holes, you definitely know you're going to be sliding on down those rabbit holes. So, the reality of rain induced. So, an immense rain or snow melt filters into the upper layer of the bedrocks. It fills cracks. The increased pore fluid pressure, quote unquote, Nancy Grace style, pore fluid pressure, pushing outward against the rock. The unclaiming effect, quote unquote, unclaiming. Unclamping, damn, my eyes be all seeing backwards, damn, Holly and Mark. Anyway, according to local research, this kind of pressure can act as a lubricant on shallow, quote unquote, hair trigger faults. It offsets the friction holding the two sides of fault together, causing it to slip. See, I just said that earlier, and that was just my intuition. So the micro earthquakes only. So the studies include computer modeling by Stony Brook University show that heavy winter participation can cause wonderful small variations in California's fault stress. However, this only triggers tiny micro earthquakes. But again, I haven't done the research, but the mudslides combined with the earthquakes, I don't know, not good. So the myth of, let's talk about earthquake weather. So statistically, earthquakes are distributed completely evenly across all seasons, temperatures, and weather types. So when I want to say these weather types trigger and intensify and get more intense, which is Super El Nino causes, and then I want to say my opinion, global warming and then the ozone layers in California or in Los Angeles as well are probably not helping whatsoever, in my opinion, the Super El Nino taking effect. So I don't know. I don't know if it's too late at this point. I'm just assuming, who knows. All right, so I want to talk about the free tools that are going to be mentioned here and for the top places affected by this and the highways. So let's read this Kevin style. Several entirely free tracking systems include interactive digital maps and emergency resources are available to monitor landslide threats and live road closures across California. So I don't know. There's these other ones called Caltrans Quick Map, Caltrans Highway Condition Search, and then the California 511 systems. And then to look into free landslides and ground risk trackers, check this. This is getting tongue tied here with my time. Cal OES My Hazards Portal, and then CGS California Landslide Inventory. Again, that's CGS California Landslide Inventory, and then US. I'm going to read that over because I'm a dumbass. USGS Landslides Hazard Program. So I'll just read these guys once more for the free land and ground risk trackers, the Cal OES, My Hazards Portal, CGS, California Landslide Inventory, and the other one would be USGS Landslide Hazards Program. So take a quick peek at those if you maybe live in those surrounding areas, or if you have friends, maybe just give them a heads up with this video. So I want to talk about what would happen if most parts that have these severe mudslides, what would happen to the land ideally. So ideally, if we do look at the natural landscape over this long period of time from these areas that would be potentially hit, the severe mudslides could undergo a process of ecological reset and geological rebuilding. So, since some of these mudslides are highly destructive to human structures in the short term, they serve a vital purpose for the natural environment. Also, hashtag not good. The natural recovery process of the land. So, soil enrichment. Mudslides carry massive amounts of mineral rich silt, organic debris, and topsoil down from mountain peaks. Once this mud settles in valley floors, it creates highly fertile, nutrient rich soil that stimulates new plant growth. Landscape flattening and carving. Over thousands of years, mudslides naturally steep unstable mountain peaks and fill in deep, jagged canyons. This kind of process smooths out the rugged terrain, eventually creating stable plains and flatter, usable valley floors. And honestly, I don't know what the fuck that means. I really don't know what that one means. But each one of these pieces that I'm talking about, and that's why I want to keep this semi short, because there's so many, like I say, I don't want to try to go off on different subjects, but that right there, you could dive into just that rabbit hole alone. And so many resourceful tools on just each thing I'm mentioning. So I'll get to the long-term reality of all of this, to be honest. And it's going to be interesting, and you take it for what you will. I think ideally, speaking in a more science sense, which just would be a natural flow of how things might happen to the land, eventually through time it will be more steep, the hillside collapses, because from my understanding it's physically too unstable to hold down all that weight. And really, if you look at the fault lines, and if it's not able to hold down all that weight, I think once some of these mudslides do happen, they do kind of loosen. Well, just loosen underneath more, to put it slightly. And I'll read some of the other ones here. USGS Landslide Hazards Program, which I think, since it's being mentioned here so many times, would be more of a top one to keep up with. But there's also independent ones that you could also keep up with that are maybe more better and more up to date and accurate to track, and more simple. That's what I want for you guys, is don't get too overwhelmed. Pick a site that works for you, even if it's the same thing, and if it's simple, and go with it, because sometimes with these other websites there's like 5 different versions, and just go with the one that works best for you, my Playboy peeps. Because let's be honest, I think it's the Playboy peeps and some of my locals listening up in this. So, alright. And so, ideally, how long would this take to recover from a Super El Nino apocalypse? Soggy mountains. And, well, yeah, what I'm reading here is not. No. We'll just skip that part. Yeah, so this isn't good, my friends, and I think also to check your local resources for local sand that you can get to put around your house, around your garage, and places that already have, or well, more potential. Put the sand more areas that would affect where water could come in, kind of barricading it to more so secure it better for you for a better chance of survival. Um, Especially if you're at the bottom, you would really, I would just try to go sell your home now if you're at the bottom of a hill, because it would be completely pointless. I want to see people get more so at the top would have a better chance of survival if they're gung ho and going, you know what, I'm not going anywhere. Then to the homies at the top of the hills, then I guess this episode's for you. And the people at the bottom of the hills with your houses, would highly suggest you get insurance or just sell it now and take your money and run. So this is it for Thinking is Ghetto. I want to say thank you always for tuning in. This is for basically all the mom and dads out there. I know they like my Thinking is Ghetto segments. Just them, and maybe the odd one or two that pop up and see it. But hey, I appreciate all the love, even if it's a few views. I want to say I enjoy doing more of these Thinking is Ghetto segments because I can really let loose with my words and just really try to. I kind of get irritated sometimes when I'm doing my mystery videos, and I genuinely enjoy those too, but where I'm just like, I can only put this Kevin on for so long. But I do a good job, don't I? But in all reality, I'm pretty thankful just to have you guys here, my Playboy pieces. Basically, where Playboy started this off for this crazy buck-wild Canadian beaver. I really do love doing this. I'll see you on the next one next week, and I'm sure I already have something planned that I have in mind for you guys that is more so going to be a helpful one. And before I end this, quote of the day. You know what? I'll think of a good quote yet. But really, I really did mean that. I'm just looking for that one person to show me no mercy. Fingers crossed. Oh, fuck, I'm wild. I do apologize. But isn't that why you guys tune in? Like, hey, what's this crazy poet and prince up to? This is what I'm up to. Is, conspiracy theories and I don't know, Holly and Mark videos. Alright, I love you guys. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I'm hoping next one is going to be just as entertaining because you know what? I'm going to be doing it. So tune in for the next one. Love you long time. Hola, bonjour, and, Super El Nino it up. Okay, yeah, and what I mean by Super El Nino it up, enjoy the sunshine if you're in Canada because we all know wintertime be coming, and it's not going to be our friend, and then we're going to be bitching about how we be inside. So I'm just going to go soak up that vitamin D until I pass out from all the sweat and just, get that natural serotonin. Because, I burnt it out from the drugs. See, I control myself. I control myself right under the bridge. Maybe where I woke up from last night because I trolled so much. But anyway, love you guys. And can't wait to do the next one, and hopefully I'll be a little more calm, like not so like, oh, I'm on a blind date, but really, like, I feel nervous because sometimes I just don't know who's listening. But yeah, I better shut the fuck up, and I hope you have a wonderful evening, night, morning, whatever the fuck you're doing. I hope you're having a more than great fucking day, and I think it's time for me to go zen the fuck out and read my book, Harvey and Me by Katie Price, obviously. So I'm going to give a review on that one on my posts, my Playboy peeps. Okay, I think my energy drink is making me not shut the fuck up, so I'll shut the fuck up on 3, 2, 1.